Seattle son, Mr. Jimi Hendrix, and it would seem the Hendrix sound owed as much to revolutionary production techniques as it did to Jimi's innovative and virtuoso guitar playing, according to a brand new book written by Hendrix's studio engineer Eddie Kramer. Kramer's text, entitled Hendrix Setting the Record Straight, was published last week in America, 22 years to the week after the death of Hendrix in London.
When Jimi Hendrix exploded on the scene in 1967, it was not only his revolutionary guitar style that turned so many heads. Sounds on the records themselves were new, as radical production technique became as much a part of the record as the musicianship.
We were on the leading edge of something vastly new and unexplored. We'd never done anything like it before. We'd never recorded anything like it before. I'd never done all those pannings and phasings and crazy sounds. It was Jimi who stimulated us because he did some wonderful stuff out in the room with the guitar, and that inspired me to do crazy stuff in the controllers.
Syncing speakers underwater, altering motor speeds on tape machines, jamming microphones into speakers, Hendrix was willing to try anything in search of new sounds. But this boldness was strangely lacking in one conspicuous area: his singing.
Jimi did not like the sound of his own voice. He thought he had the worst voice in the world, and he wanted nobody to watch him sing. Very, very protective of that. So I built a series of screens around him so that nobody could see him from the control room. And then he'd poke his head out around the corner and say, "Was that all right?"
After mixdown of his recordings, Hendrix was notoriously eager to share his new work with the world. This habit produced disastrous results when he ran off to a party with the master tape for side one of Axis, Bold as Love.
I got a phone call from Chastain. He said, "Guess what? Part of the album's missing." I said, "What do you mean part of the album's missing?" He said, "Jimi left it in a cab." "Oh, you got to mix it this weekend."
Remix it they did. And Axis, Bold as Love, along with Are You Experienced and Electric Ladyland, all stand as landmark recordings. The man who made those recordings believes Hendrix would have continued to seek out some unusual sonic landscapes in which to play guitar.
Everything from symphony orchestras accompanying him to choirs, horn sections, big rhythm sections. I don't think he limited himself.
While those records will never exist, Hendrix's original work continues to sell hundreds of thousands of copies each year. Now, 22 years after his death, Eddie Kramer says it's no surprise.
The kids today don't react to phoniness, they discard it. If something is real, as Jimi Hendrix comes on the radio, it's unmistakable.
And in January, work commences on a Jimi Hendrix museum in his hometown of Seattle. We have our first short break of the show coming up right now, but stay exactly where you are, because very shortly we'll be turning the clock back to November 91, when the Ball was first on the scene to bring you an in-depth feature on Pearl Jam. We'll be talking to the guys in Cincinnati, giving you another chance to hear their thoughts on Seattle and the 10 album before Pearl Jam became an international success story.
I have to go to America tomorrow.
Every Monday at midnight, MTV screens 2 hours of pure rock. Mondays at midnight on MTV. We call it Rock Block. That's rock, not metal.
Watch this.
To to solve a mystery.
Who are we looking for here? IRA terrorists or some ultra-violent faction of the IRA?
To stop a killer.
This is who we should be looking for. We find her, we'll find them.
To save his family.
Sean Miller escaped.
Well, what does that mean?
Jack Ryan must play a deadly game.
How many are coming? Where's Sean Miller?
Based on the best-selling novel, Harrison Ford, Patriot Games.
13 million people prepare for the future.
Even educated.
In fact, we help more people save more money for more things than anyone else. A daughter's wedding, for example. Get a little extra help. From the Halifax.
Stay calm. Concentrate on the screen. Street Fighter 2 is on Super Nintendo. From the arcades, the ultimate combat game. Each fighter has a different technique, an acrobatic move, a hidden punch. It's on the streets now, exclusively on Super Nintendo. Super Nintendo with Street Fighter 2. It's unbeatable.
Wieder mal gelangweilt? Interessiert an einem neuen Weg, Leute kennenzulernen? Nimm einfach den Hörer ab und ruf an. 001 809 563 4 mal die 0. Eine super Fete wartet auf dich, die Party 9. Unterhalte dich mit tollen Leuten aus ganz Europa 24 Stunden am Tag. Worauf wartest du noch? 001 809 563 4 mal die 0. 001 809 563 4 mal die 0.
That guy's a karate expert.
I got together, try to love one another right now. Ow! When I'm mad, find a way,
Yo, welcome back to the Headbangers Ball Seattle special. That was a little bit of artistic license going on there with Guns N' Roses featuring Duff McKagan, who is, of course, a Seattle native. And in fact, he started his musical career in the area as a member of the band 10 Minute Warning. And our focus on the city continues with another chance to see the interview that we recorded late last year in Cincinnati with the then unknown Pearl Jam. Their debut album 10 has now sold in excess of 2 million copies, but back then it had just been released stateside and the band were touring with Chicago grungers Smashing Pumpkins and headliners Red Hot Chili Peppers. I started off by asking the guys why Seattle had developed such a vibrant heavy rock scene over the last few years.
The reason why, I don't know. I think there's been a scene brewing there for like a long time now, and it just so happens that a lot of the bands, us and Soundgarden and Nirvana, have just kind of come into their own. I think, especially bands like Soundgarden, a band like Soundgarden, I think they're making like serious music right now. They've been together for a really long time. The chemistry's amazing, and I can't wait to be at that point, just as a band.
What about the significance of the Sub Pop label bringing these bands out?
There's definite significance to that. I mean, just the fact that Bruce and Jonathan both, basically they were just fans of music, and that was the whole point behind their label. And the fact that became successful just because of that, I think it says a lot. I think they're having some business problems, but hopefully they'll get through that and continue to find bands that they're really into.
We need to do a telethon. We need to do a telethon for Sub Pop. Keep this label going.
They still owe us money.
Well, yeah.
Eddie, if I could ask you, it seems that unlike Hollywood, the Seattle scene doesn't seem to follow a formula, like one band comes through and there's a million imitators. It seems that there's so many original bands. Why do you think that is?
Maybe people are being honest with themselves, and honest with themselves musically, and not trying to follow the next biggest thing, because it's not an industry town. It's not a town where people are prodding them to sell music or maybe write a song that sells. They're just maybe writing a song that makes them feel good or gets something out for them emotionally and physically as well.
That's a good answer. Now, if we could turn the clock back a little bit, it must have been a tremendous blow for you when Andrew Wood, lead singer of Mother Love Bone, sadly passed away. Did you find that the Temple of the Dog project was a positive way to get over his death?
I think it helped, especially for Stone and I, just musically, to get a chance to work with a couple of people that we respected a lot, and it just got us kind of to that next step. I mean, when we played with Chris and Matt, we knew we could play with just about anybody, and at that point we'd already met Eddie and Dave and Mike, and we were already kind of starting our own thing. So it was just kind of like a shot on the arm. In terms of getting over Andy, I don't know if it really. I think it just let us deal with Andy's death, and I think that's the only thing you can do. I mean, when a person dies, it's reality. It's a situation. The person died. The reality of the situation is that your life is still going on, and I don't know. That's kind of what we're doing right now. We're making music that's vital, and it's vital for our lives.
And we'll continue with that Pearl Jam interview very shortly, but for now we're going to see the video from the band formed to pay tribute to Mother Love Bone vocalist Andrew Wood. This is Seattle's supergroup Temple of the Dog with the brilliant Hunger Strike.
I don't mind stealing bread from the mouths of decadence, but I can't feed on the powerless when my cup's already overfilled. Yeah, but it's on the table, the fire's cooking, and the farming babies with slaves are working. The blood is on the table and the mouths are choking. I'm going hungry. decadent. But I can't feed on the powerless when my cup's already overfilled. But it's on the table, the fire's cooking.
That was Jesus Christ Pose from Soundgarden, and Eddie and Jeff from Pearl Jam are still with me on Headbangers Ball from Cincinnati. And I was wondering, how did the Temple of the Dog project pave the way for Pearl Jam?
How did it pave the way? Well, essentially, like just the recording process. We had done some demos out there with Pearl Jam, and it just got us comfortable with like recording and writing, you know, in a band situation again. And it just going through, like when we made Apple, the Mother Love Bone record, we spent like probably 3 or 4 months making that record, and we made the Temple of the Dog record in about 10 days. I think that made us realize that you didn't really have to like overanalyze and overthink, you know, a recording situation. And so when it came time for us to do our record, we kind of took a similar approach.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and you recorded the album 10 in Seattle, but then you went to to England to mix it, didn't you? Why did you do that?
Actually, we heard the best theory was to make your record at home where you felt comfortable, and where you weren't in a strange situation. You could just get the music out how it naturally would like kind of evolve, and then after that to go as far away as you could to mix it somewhere different and get like new perspective. And that's what Dorking England did for us. We'd never even been to England before, and all of a sudden we were staying in this 500-year-old mansion out in Surrey, and it was amazing experience. It was a place called Ridge Farm, and the people there were terrific, and we mixed it with a guy named Tim Palmer, who's a master, and
Bad Company made records there. I stayed in Paul Rogers' room.
Oh, wow.
Like in the attic.
So you got a good vibe from that?
I'm not sure. Like,
I think he might
get a good night's sleep for like 2 months, but
he was busy touching himself thinking about Paul.
Now, the band formed and recorded an album in just 8 months. Do you have any kind of concerns about growing up in the public eye?
No, not at all.
That's a really great question, though.
As a band, I don't feel weird about. I mean, we're gonna grow as we grow, no matter, you know, what anybody else thinks. So I don't know.
He's not worried.
I just hope people, you know, don't speculate every move and every, you know, lyric. I mean, it's nice that they've responded to the lyrics are there, but, you know, hopefully they'll give us a chance to make mistakes in 2 or 3 records, you know, because we're gonna do it anyways.
And that was the whole point of this record too. I mean, we'd only been a band for 4 or 5 months when we recorded this record, and it was like so many bands spend 2 or 3 years to evolve into this point to where they make their first record, or where they're mature enough to make their first record. And to me, the whole point is like, look, we have 20 songs. Let's document, you know, this time of our careers, and that's exactly what we did. I mean, there's mistakes all over our first record. There's going to be mistakes on our second record, but that's music, that's art. So.
Okay, and actually, I talked to you about the lyrics, Eddie. On the whole, they're very simple. Do you feel that less is more, and that this leaves them open to interpretation by the listener?
Oh, definitely, and it's actually why I don't like to talk about the meanings of many songs in interviews, etc. Actually, I make a deal with people, and that is if they give me their interpretation, you know, I'll give them what was behind the original writing. It's very important that people are able to put themselves into the songs.
Absolutely.
And I think live, that's been apparent too. I mean, when they sing it back to you, you can see the look in their eyes, and you can see that something's going on there. So, and the fact is that there are, I've talked to a lot of people, hundreds of people, and there's been hundreds of different variations on these thoughts, and it's been really, that's been one of the most fulfilling things, is getting other people's kind of input on these songs. So all of a sudden they become everybody's. It's not just our bands putting it out to them, you know, something that people can relate to and identify with in their own way.
Okay, well, we've got the video for Alive coming up now, and actually interesting what you were just saying. Every time I read those lyrics, they mean something different to me. Could you introduce the video for us? With Banana.
This next song is Alive. We recorded this video live, and so it's got everything. It's got mistakes. It's actually a different version.
Headbangers Ball, Pearl Jam. Eddie and Jeff are still with me. We're going to talk some more. And I was wondering, is your whole approach in direct defiance of how self-indulgent rock music has become in recent years, both musically, lyrically, and visually?
No, I don't think so. I think that I think that what's come out is just a natural thing. I think that there's plenty of reasons to rebel against that sort of kind of gluttonous, superfluous crap, but we're not going to go out of our way to talk about it or to put that in our music. It's just, that's how it came out, and that's what we're trying to hang on to. It's an honesty thing, it's a truth thing, and it's just what we feel when we go to play music. It's just what we feel, and it's where it comes from.
Okay.
I totally agree with him. I think at the same time, I think just the way that we approach playing our instruments might bring out some of that rebellion in us in terms of like trying to get it to sound like a different instrument or whatever. But as far as being a rebel, I don't really feel too much like a rebel at this point.
He just looks like one.
He does. I just think that maybe in this day and age, kids can perhaps relate more to your songs than perhaps a lyric. You know, I ride down Sunset Strip on my Harley Davidson, because how many people get to do that?
Yeah, well...
Not really that cool anyway.
Yeah, they're really loud, and the leathers get really sweaty, and that whole thing is not as glamorous as everybody thinks.
I mean, but do you see your music as a different form of escapism, perhaps?
Well, definitely. I think that, you know, I think that's a whole kind of fantasy trip that those people are talking about, and maybe that's where those people, I don't know, maybe they're looking for music to take them there. Mm-hmm. You know, it's a different kind of reality, and I think we're dealing with, like, what is reality, and we're dealing with, like, problems and emotions, and maybe trying to take people someplace within that, you know, in a reality type situation, so they, like, somehow by the end of a song they've dealt with something, you know, rather than just losing themselves into something that's not real at all.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. And maybe we could talk a little bit about your influences. When I listened to the record, I felt that maybe you had a lot of European influences, but there's also kind of a psychedelic kind of edge in there as well, isn't there?
Yeah, I don't know how much of that is, you know, on purpose. I mean, I think, again, we're just working with it within the realms of our instruments, so I think a lot of the ambient qualities and the atmospheric qualities come from, I mean, I listen to a lot of that sort of music. I listen to Eno and David Sylvian and Japan, and I know Stone is really, really into Jimmy Page and that whole trip, and Mike's really into a lot of different blues players like Stevie Ray Vaughan and Hendrix and Muddy Waters and B.B. King, and so in terms of what we listen to and our influences, it's pretty much the gamut. It pretty much changes daily. I mean, you know, if I woke up one morning and listened to, like, Free before I went out to do a bass part, the bass part might end up a little bit more like that. You know, who knows? I mean, it isn't a conscious thing. It's just, I think we're all huge fans of music, and subconsciously I think we're influenced by it all, so.
Okay. A lot of the tracks on the album I found to be very mellow, and I actually found I could relax listening to it. Now, in some ways, that is the complete antithesis of rock music, isn't it?
Well, I guess so, especially since I was listening to, like, probably Rollins the morning I wrote those mellow songs. Well, but live, though, see, even live, you're not allowed to relax. Live, even the slow ones, we end up smashing instruments and smashing ourselves, and I don't know. I think there's a lot of different emotions on the record. I think there's songs that people can forward to if they're, like, feeling really aggressive, and there's other ones that they can kind of go to sleep to.
At home, drawing pictures of mountain tops, where someone give attention to the fact that mommy didn't care. There on me is a wicked, oh, is a world, there on me is more than clear. There on me is more than clear. Clearly I remember picking on the boy, seemed a harmless little fuck. Oh, but we unleashed the lion, gnashed his teeth and spit the recessed lady's breath. How could I forget? And he hit me with a surprise little door. So left
There you go, that was Headbangers Ball, first on the scene with Pearl Jam back in November last year. And as we've all witnessed, so much has happened for Pearl Jam since then. As I said before, 10 has now sold in excess of 2 million copies, and the Temple of the Dog album is currently residing in the number 2 position in the Billboard album charts stateside. Well deserved indeed. Right now, though, it's time for our next short break, but stay tuned for more from Seattle, including the debut videos from Gruntruck and My Sister's Machine.
This Monday on Unplugged, Joe Cocker.
Well, I believe to my soul, the child make a fool out of me.
You can also hear this month's Unplugged on the following local radio stations. Unplugged with Joe Cocker, Monday at 2000 hours. Not just TV, MTV.
With just one of 12 tracks from her extraordinary new album, Am I Not Your Girl?
Am I not your girl? Am I not your girl?
Se sentir libre, c'est important pour un étudiant. Notre compte campus vous offre une carte de banque et cette liberté. En plus, vous avez accès à notre Intelligence Service, une banque de données pour votre mémoire. Ouvrez un compte campus et volez de vos propres ailes. Générale de banque, probablement la plus compétente.